Okay, so everybody ready? Your eyes will be here now, right? Okay, so this is now live. I'll give you a thumbs up.
She asked me when it starts.
Oh.
Okay. All right, we'd like to call the meeting to order. It's April 27th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Let the record reflect that all elected board members are here with the exception of Isaac Huddy, who will be late. And our student reps are playing softball tonight. So the first item on our agenda is a budget extension hearing. And we go ahead with that. What?
We did the pledge?
On the regular meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
All right.
And just FYI, our system that we use for our meetings, Board Docs is down across the entire country today, so there may be a few hiccups as we go through today because everything that's on there, we had to recreate.
All right, when we run into a situation in a school year after we started the year where we need to spend more money than the board has appropriated, we do a budget extension, and that's what this hearing is for, is because we've got a situation in capital projects. We've got some additional grants with the help of an outside company to help us apply for grants that we got, so we need to increase the expenditure amount that we can spend. And then debt service fund, there were no bond transfer fees in the original budget, so we needed to add that dollar amount so that we can actually spend, so that we don't go over appropriation. All right, so what specifically capital projects? We've got a grant from the state for $600,000 for new boilers at Goldbar Elementary. We got a $150,000 grant for ADA access at Goldbar Elementary, and a $156,000 grant for new dishwashers at Goldbar, Sultan Elementary, and Sultan Middle School. And we're also gonna replace the dishwasher at Sultan High School as part of it using levy dollars. And then we've got additional tech with student and staff computers, $418,000, all of this coming out of capital projects. And then for debt service, the $2,000 will give us the capacity for the extra bond transfer fees. So we're asking for additional expenditure capacity of $1.3 million in capital projects, $906,000 coming from state grants, and then additional expenditure of $2,000 in debt service. Any questions?
Michael,
No questions? No questions.
Marion? No. No questions?
The key to note is these are capital projects and debt service funds, not general fund, not ASB. It is specifically for those separate funds.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on the public comment sign-in sheet that wanted to comment on this part of the meeting? No? All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn the budget extension hearing?
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, carries, and we adjourn at 6:04. And we're gonna immediately, Kayla, you ready? Call the regular meeting to order, 6:04 on 4/27/26. Again, let the record reflect that all elected board members are present with the exception of Isaac Huddy, who will be late. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes, additions to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Second,
I second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and there will be an executive session at the end of the meeting to go over performance of a public employee. And that will be approximately 10 minutes. All right, good news and celebrations.
We will start with our students of the month that are here tonight. First, we have Claire Bell from Sultan Elementary School, and Mr. Varnell's gonna hand out the certificates, and we'll see if Kayla finds her picture there.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
We're gonna take a photo, is that all right?
Yeah.
Actually, really nice. Awesome, thank you.
Great job, Claire.
Congratulations.
And also here tonight is Henry Loftus from Goldbar Elementary.
Go. Hold that up for Kayla.
Good job, Henry. And is anyone else here for student recognition? That weren't here before. No?
Okay.
I'm so sorry. So any others on that? Is that, we're good? Okay. All right, we are now at the public comment section of the meeting. And we did not identify any direct questions from the previous meeting. And as always, we respond to all emailed questions and concerns in accordance with district policy. And as a reminder, if you have any concerns or questions, please reach out. We welcome the opportunity to meet in person and engage in dialogue. Our board has adopted policy procedure 1400-1400P for meeting conduct, and this policy and procedure are available on the school district website. Public comments are heard at every business meeting. Business meetings are meetings where final action is taken. Other gatherings such as workshops and study sessions are meetings where no final action is taken and there is no public comment period then. Some reminders, total time allowed is 30 minutes. Each speaker has a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment period is the only time that the public is recognized to speak. This is not a time for dialogue between the board and the public, but rather an opportunity for the board to listen to individuals on educational issues, and board members are encouraged to listen attentively. The board chair or superintendent might ask a speaker a clarifying question. If you have a specific question or issue that you would like the district to follow up on, please let us know, and someone will contact you within 72 hours. Finally, please remember that your words have impact, and you, not the school district, are responsible for your words. We ask that you help us model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks and sounds like. First on the list, I have Cheryl. Hi. Hi.
It's been a while since I've been here. Cheryl Richivuto, and I'm representing the Sky Valley chapter of Music for Life. And our organization is having a fundraiser on May 16th. We've got big band with Take 17 up at the the Startup Event Center. Our organization collects donated band instruments and then has them refurbished and then redistributed out to the school district at no cost. And then the school district determines what students need to have those instruments in order to be able to participate in instrumental music. We started in 2024 and we've had over 30 instruments donated. That's pretty good. And we're so happy because the Valley has been really, really supportive with donating instruments. So once those instruments go to the repair shop, they get refurbished back to the school district, and then the school district gets to decide how they are distributed. Anyway, we've added index to the Sky Valley chapter because that school district is really too small for its own, so we folded them in because I think their students also attend Sultan. at middle and high school, potentially into their band program. So we want to make those instruments available to them too. So I'm inviting all of you, school board members, staff, community, to come and join us. It was a good time last year, was our first one. It was a really good time. People had fun. And if you know anything about Take 17, they are a great group. And so they've been very supportive of this program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Estes?
Greetings, my name is Jeff Estes. I reside in Startup, Washington, and I work part-time at the middle school as an avid tutor. This is my fourth year tutoring, mentoring, and supporting students with their academic successes and achievements. But unfortunately, it appears to be my last year due to the budget cuts. I have the following comments and questions. First, I do want to acknowledge the new superintendent. He came to the campus and discovered the last one left the district millions of dollars in debt. 3 LGO bond loans that totaled $5.1 million were taken out to address expenses that should have been covered by the 2023-2026 capital levy, which by the end of this year will have collected $14,482,582. Mitch, Gigi, Mike, Marianne, where did these funds go? Now, as I understand it, you plan to transfer $2.615,850. So that's $2.6 million from the capital projects levy fund to the general fund to cover operating expenses. So again, Mitch, Gigi, Mike, Marianne, will the remaining capital projects promised to the community be completed, and when? The next capital levy will bring in $14,346,099. Where will that revenue be spent? Now, also before us tonight is the recommended 2026-2027 budget reduction plans that show 47 positions being cut. Gigi, Mike, Marianne, how many years in a row have the enrollment projections been overestimated? Why was new staff hired at the beginning of this year? Did we not just go through a RIF cycle recently? The new EP&O levy will bring in $25,504,175. Will that be enough, or will more need to be borrowed? Washington State has increased per pupil education spending by over 110% since 2013. Just in the last 7 years, the funding has increased 30% or $8 million. During that time, administration has increased 30%, but enrollment only 4%. Despite spending $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 annually per student, fourth grade reading test scores have declined every year since 2015. According to Smarter Balanced Assessment data, 62% of students are failing in math and 49% failing in English.
We're at
Thank you.
3 minutes now, Jeff. Thank you. David? Hi.
Hi, my name is David Hawkinson. I work in the tech department and I am also the current PSE president. At the moment, we are in negotiations with the district, so I am not able to say very much, so I'll keep this brief. I am hoping that you will reconsider the cuts that are being proposed at the end of this meeting. That's it.
I think Nicole? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Nicole and I work for the school district, currently in the tech department. I was on a leave of absence as librarian at the middle school. Sorry. Clearly, I loved my job in the middle school, and it's because I loved the students. There are a few, excuse me, there are a few positions that are being recommended to be cut. And I personally would like to ask you to reconsider some of these positions. There are positions that are reaching students one-on-one that some of those students wouldn't be reached out to, that I think would feel lost. Specifically, there's a position at the high school where there is a woman who allows my daughter to eat lunch with her. And she works very hard in this position to make sure that students are able to graduate. When I worked in the library, I worked with certain students specifically almost daily to make sure that they got their work done, that they felt heard, that, you know, one of these students lost his sister and his stepdad, and he came to me to have a moment, and I would work with him on his schoolwork. I understand the budget problem. I understand there's no money. And I don't understand some of the other stuff that goes along with that. And I do not envy that job for you. But I do know that some of these positions make huge impacts on some of these children. And I think that should be a goal. And our primary objective is to make sure that these students are being taken care of. And I think by eliminating some of these positions, we are losing sight of our students and their needs. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to reports. GBE. What? Yeah, there's 4.
Ms. Anderson has the Goldbar report. This is the next campus they haven't heard from, and then she's gonna slide over and share a little bit about parent partnership work that we've been doing to get ready to launch in the fall.
So, hi, I'm Heather Anderson. I'm the principal of Goldbar Elementary, if you have not met me, and I will be the principal of the Parent Partnership Program K-8 for next school year. So, like he said, I'll be presenting on both. Right now, this is just our campus report for how we're doing the third quarter at Goldbar Elementary. So, just trying to kind of keep it brief. Kayla, or can I control?
I think you can hit the enter and it should work. There you go.
So we had 3 goals this year as part of our SIP plan. Sorry, I changed it to black, but I guess the thing didn't get updated. So our first goal was that all staff was going to be able to clearly identify the supports available at all 3 levels, all 3 tiers of the MTSS system, and that students would receive timely interventions aligned with their academic and social needs this year. So just getting crystal clear on what MTSS is, what the systems are, what's available to students, and how to get them aligned. So far this school year, we did a survey of our certificated and our classified staff. 100% of our certificated staff are now able to clearly identify what those 3 tiers of support are. 72% of our classified staff survey were able to successfully identify the supports at all 3 levels. And that includes staff like our nurses, staff that maybe doesn't directly work in the classroom setting. And so we're actually pretty proud of that number. all students at the tier 3 level per iReady are directly aligned with supports, and 99% of our students who are falling into the tier 2 category are aligned with supports as well. So just some progress that we've made on that. Our second goal was that through our collaborative PLC work and focus on standards-based instruction practices, at least 85% of students will demonstrate growth on those district benchmark assessments. As of our winter diagnostic window in our iReady assessments, 86% of students are currently showing improvement in both ELA and math, with, if you looked at just the minimum amount of growth, a minimum of 12% on average is what we're looking at. So we've already exceeded that goal for this school year, and we're looking to kind of extend that. The number at the end wasn't updated. I want to say it's about 8 students that didn't show any growth on the iReady assessment is because we have students who have moved in this school year, and so they didn't have a fall benchmark for there to be. And then our third goal this year on our SIP plan was that we would continue to build on our relationships with families in the community, where 90% of the families will report feeling welcome and informed, and 95% of the students will report feeling safe at school. 99% of the students and families who did respond indicated feeling safe, welcomed, and informed at our school. You'll see later on in some other slides that we're looking to actually increase the response rate of some of those, because it's super easy to get 99% of families when you don't get that many that respond. Same with students. So we're going to work on that. This is a reflection of our iReady growth, and I took out percentages and actually put in number of students just so that there was a more direct correlation between numbers on the page and students in our classroom. So the scores you see on the top are the number of students who fell into those categories in the fall, and then the number of students who fell into those categories in the winter. The dark red is students who are falling 3 or more grades below grade level. Next is 2 grades or more, 1 grade below, early on grade level, or mid or above. And I just would like to point out that we're seeing growth in all of the areas that we'd like to see growth in, by the numbers reducing and the numbers increasing in the areas of the grade. So the same is true in ELA. Of all the students that are falling in the 2 grades, grade levels below or 3 grade or more below, we can make a direct correlation between those students and the fact that they are directly aligned with tier 2 or tier 3 level intervention. So they're not just sitting in our classrooms not passing. We've got a plan for each one of them, and we're working with each one of them. We just wanted to reiterate that aligns with the board goal around culture of continuous improvement. So when we think about what's working this year, well, student interventions and extensions are working. We have a master schedule that has been able to afford us a para assigned at each grade level. So every grade level has a para that's dedicated to that grade level that has priority time and then non-priority time. So we make sure that the priority time is any of that time where the teachers are trying to create small group work, interventions, or extensions. There's a para assigned at that grade level so that we can keep those groups as small as possible. Non-priority time might be during that tier 1, that whole class instruction. Well, rather than standing there watching the instruction happen, we then shift that para to a grade level who's doing the small group work at that time. So that's how we've made that work this year. We also make sure that each of our grade level teachers have a common planning time that they use to meet throughout the week, so they're not simply using their common planning time on Fridays or those early release Fridays only. They're using it in a timely manner right after an assessment to be able to reflect and adjust. And those paras that are assigned to that grade level are also available during that planning time so that they can be part of the conversation around what they want to do to intervene or extend the learning. And they're not just popping into a classroom, being handed a group of kids and an assignment. They're part of the planning process. Interventionists attend those PLT meetings at least 1 time per month. So our interventionists, they're serving students all day long just like everyone else, and so we do try to make sure that at least 1 Friday per month that those PLT teams are meeting on Fridays so that the interventionists have an opportunity to pop in and check in on how things are going and help with recommendations around interventions and extensions. And then our teams are working on, we've been working on many things through the PLC processes. but really diving deeper in those conversations around what are you doing in your classroom that's making a difference at that tier 1 level. So other things, other building specific things is that we do have that win time, that what I need time. So it's a focus on the core, but also an opportunity built within the master schedule for those interventions and extensions to be happening, not and that kids are not just, they're not missing anything for that extra support. So currently 0% of our students at that 3 or more years below or grades below grade level are unaligned with supports, and our goal is that none of our students that are in the yellow will be unaligned with supports. The link you see right here, the third quarter progress at GBE, if any of you at home have access to this PowerPoint and are interested and would like to see, each of the teams have identified their essential standards, what they're focusing on and prioritizing, and that kind of dives in a little bit deeper at every grade level, kind of what they're focusing on right now and the growth that they've seen within those units. So looking ahead and thinking about next year, some of the shifts that we'd like to focus on. We've noticed in our data that we still have a high percentage of our multilingual students that are not meeting grade level standards in mathematics. And so we'd like to increase from that 6 out of 44 students, so 13% of students who are currently meeting that standard per our iReady diagnostic to 50% of students. Right now we have 18 students that are falling, I want to say the 18 are at the 2 grades below grade level, and we have 20 at 3 grades below grade level. If we could see either of those groups move over, we're going to be at that 50% overall, and we'd like to see both, of course. I just want to point out that aligns with your district guiding principles that you have pointed out 1 and 3 in your strategic plan. The school will also like to increase our family and community engagement and the student sense of belonging as measured by a 10% increase in the amount of positive responses. So not that we're looking to get to 110% of positive responses, but we're actually looking for people to respond to us and really give us that feedback. Both students and families in their climate surveys, and see an increased participation rate in school events and partnerships. We have a high participation rate in parent-teacher conferences, in any of our community events. People show up. They show up in spades. We would love to see them in our instructional spaces, in our classrooms, in our hallways, on our playgrounds, in my office. We just would like to see them more directly involved during the school day, because that's when we are actually hearing the feedback that we can act on. And then we would like to continue to strengthen the effectiveness of our MTSS and PLC systems by establishing consistent vertical and horizontal alignment of the essential standards. And we just want that we anticipate that will result in at least a 10% increase in students meeting grade level standards in reading and math. And so we know that as a district, we're working on collaboration between the 2 schools and across our grade levels as well to make sure that everything that we're focusing on is aligned and there's no gaps in between that. And so that's our look at for next year.
Thank you, Heather.
Questions? Yes. Questions about Goldbar?
That's very detailed, appreciate it.
Great job, thank you.
Thank you
I'll
for
just-
this data-rich PowerPoint there.
Well, and I do have to say that that's something that Goldbar is getting better at too. It's not as easy as you would think to be able to talk about data at the quarterly level. It's super easy to pull up an iReady report or to pull up an SBAC report and say, hey, our students are failing or our students are succeeding. We see growth every single day in 1,000,001 small ways, but it's really hard to put it on paper when you're talking so many standards and so many grade levels and to narrow it down into a PowerPoint. So hopefully
I appreciate you putting the and letting us know the ones that align with the strategic plan, so appreciate that.
Okay, so Sultan Summit Academy. I don't know about you, but I feel like there's enough acronyms in education, but so we have PPP, ALE, SVO, SVA, I don't know what else. And so the thought was the Sultan Summit Academy would be kind of all things ALE. PPP is Parent Partnership Program, ALE is Alternative Learning Experiences, and we have a few acronyms that fall under that umbrella. So as if you start seeing the word Sultan Summit Academy, it's trying to encompass that umbrella. That cool little goat there is just representing our valley and the Iron Goats and the Iron Goat Trails. So if you see those things, then yes, it's still part of Sultan School District. We have a lot of options currently if you are looking for something other than the brick and mortar traditional classroom. The parent partnership will be resurrected next year, K-8. For families that are interested in that, it is either full or part-time. It will have on-site K-8 options. And remote options, and then there's an online only option for students who are 9th through 12th grade. So for some of those students that are just looking for online only, then that's available to them as well. We also have Sky Valley Options 9 through 12, which will focus on graduation pathways, and Jason Van Zandt will be running the high school kind of leg of things next year. So for the parent partnership program specifically, it's again that blend of on-site and remote learning. It will be supported by a certificated teacher. So there will be a live teacher with us on-site, giving families who are maybe currently choosing to homeschool their students that support from the school district, that certificated teacher to help them along their path. Just an opportunity to help support students too with their engagement with other peers their age. Kindergarten registration for that program is currently open, and then 1st through 8th grade registration, we have an interest survey open now. We're waiting for Q to get up and running for the full registration to be live. So how does a parent partnership program work? Families, basically, we create a plan with you. We talk to you about the type of instructional materials you want to use, how often you want to be on campus, how much you want to be at home, what's the just right fit for you, your child, your needs. And so you meet with an advisor, we create a personalized learning plan and the course offerings that work best for your child and help you meet those state obligations around, are you getting enough core content, and then we help you with the reporting process. We also provide the instructional materials for you. So if you're typically a homeschool family now, you decide on a curriculum, instructional materials, you have to buy those products and do all that yourself. We would actually be buying those products for the families, and then we would keep them in a library that we would check out to families and then be able to use year after year. All of the things that students on our main campuses have access to, these students would also have access to. So excursions, electives, field trips, all of that good stuff, we would have that as well. And even if families want the opportunity to participate in, say, a course on one of our main campuses. So middle school, they want to participate in one of the electives, they want to be in band or something like that. Then we have the opportunity to create a plan that works with the students to be able to make those opportunities happen. And currently I have a steering committee that's been meeting with me weekly, bi-weekly, to help shape what those initial course offerings will look like, and give me some feedback on what they would like to see for on campus versus off campus. This slide here just kind of talks a little bit more about K-8 itself. It is available on our website for people to review, so under the ALE page. And then there's a handout there in the back that actually has all three of these, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're a little bit like, well, what's the difference between parent partnership program, the online only option, and Sky Valley options, it kind of lays it out there for you. And that handout's on the back. Like I say, it's also available on our website. I will have another just informational kind of Q&A session this Friday here at noon for families that maybe just want to talk to me a little bit, find out if this is the right program for them. So, questions about the parent partnership program?
Thank you for all the work that you put into this. Yeah, it's great. Any questions?
No.
Isaac, Marianne?
I have a question. Do you have an anticipated enrollment target yet
for next year?
Target, I mean, Dr. Granger could probably speak to that a little bit better. I know I personally would like to see somewhere in the ballpark of like 20 to 30 students to get us started. I feel like that's not an overwhelming number to kind of get us going and be able to really cater to those families. But I would also like to see that almost double within the first year if I could. But Dr. Granger, I don't know if that's.
I would say, like we talked earlier in the year, we lost 190 students this year to Sky Valley Education Cooperative in Monroe for parent partnership options. Around 20 to 23 is the break-even point to cover the staffing for the program. So start small and continue to grow. I think it will likely grow by the second semester. I think people will start in the fall and it will keep growing, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. All right, Mitch, financials?
This is what all the costs are.
Alright, so here's where we're at through the end of March this year, sorry. Enrollment continues to be down. And the thing is, we're at that part of the year where enrollment will continue to fall as we hit the end of school. We tend to see reductions across the board. So that means our annual average is gonna come down. The red line, for those of you who are in the audience, that is where we budgeted. And so we are well below where we budgeted for enrollment. ALE enrollment is also down from where it was budgeted for. SPED numbers are below where they budgeted for. The thing about SPED numbers though is this is an annual average. So the annual average in April of 382 doesn't actually represent the 390 plus kiddos we have in the program. And Paul was saying we're over 400. Right, that way. All right, so this is the picture of the month-end fund balance. As of the end of March, we've fallen below this point last year. We were twice what we have in the bank right now. And then cash on hand, a little bit up from last month, but we're still well below where we were last year. Transportation vehicle fund, we have ordered a bus. So hopefully that bus will be delivered by the end of the year. The typical pattern here is we see the bus purchase come in, and so the big drop, and then depreciation revenue brings it up in August, but the state changed the depreciation schedule. So we're not gonna see that kind of growth in depreciation for probably about 2 years until the system catches up. Capital projects, we're at $2.8 million ending fund balance. Debt service fund, we're right in the $130,000 range. ASB, we're right in the $200,000 range. So this is the big one, year over year expenditures. And so these are the last 3 years. And you can see, based on budget, percentage-wise, we're right in the bucket of where we were last year. The problem is the number that's budgeted is not, it's not a valid number, okay? There are expenditures that are gonna take place that weren't in the budget. For instance, athletics was budgeted for 600,000-ish, in the $600,000 range, but last year we spent over 800,000. There were no cuts made in athletics. So why was the budget cut year over year? That's just one example. So when you look at the percentage where we're at of the budgeted expenditures, it doesn't tell the true story. Same with revenues. as we sit here and we look and we're at 52.9% of the budgeted revenues to date. And so the one we really need to watch for is revenues over expenditures. And I'm gonna look at last year, revenues over expenditures. We had spent almost $500,000 more than we brought in at this point last year. This point, we're $1.9 million over in expenditures. This is just the last 3 years. You could see the rise from 2024, 2025, and here we are, 2026. What kind of fast questions?
So I just want to clarify that when you speak about the budget and how things were left out and not, say, the athletics not put in there, that was the budget that was completed before you arrived, correct?
That is the budget that, yes, that we have inherited. So,
Michael, questions?
No, thank you.
Mike?
This question is probably gonna go to Mitch, yourself, and Chris. Dr. Granger, I'm sorry. So, the positions, typically, we've always been advised from previous administration that we should hire them before the fall. So how many positions did we hire on before the fall that really put us into the tailspin in our budget? Do we have a number of how many positions were hired?
We hired 17 K-8 teaching positions, not all of which were backed by enrollment projections.
So,
Those were all hired before July 1st when we got here.
okay.
That's just the cert positions, K-8, that were hired between January and.
Were there any other positions outside? Does that include PSE, the teachers? Does that include all positions or just?
That's just the teaching positions.
So how
which-
many were added to the other? I mean, if you don't know, so that is contributing to why we are over budget right now?
yeah, if we go back 1, 2, 3 slides,
Okay.
it's by expenditures. If you look at like the second line down, which is certificated salaries, we went from 9.5 million in 2024 to 10.1.
Mhm.
So $550,000 increase to 10.9, an $800,000 increase, and that's just the certificated. And if you go down to the classified line, it's 3.8 to 4.2, so there's a $400,000 jump there. And we're at 4.5, so $300,000 jump there. So when you jump that much year over year, levy doesn't cover it. And then each of those increases come with benefits, and the legislature has blessed us with not fully funding, although they will swear they do. But the increase in benefits, you could see $300,000 from 24 to 25, and then 25, 26. I usually don't do math in my head, so that's 345-ish.
Okay.
You could see that we did put a spending freeze in, and we are down about $100,000 in supplies at this point in time. The spending freeze is gonna go throughout the year. Contractual services, that one you see a big increase. Those are for things like electricity. Those are all contractual services and utilities and that kind of stuff. And then there are some services where we haven't been able to hire staff, so we've had to contract out for sped services. And so there is an increase, year over year for that.
Is insurance under that also?
Insurance is under that as well.
And how
And
much has that gone up?
And so last year was, what was last year's increase?
14.2%.
14%, and they gave us an early warning that it's gonna go up at least 18% this next year. And I heard a rumor that it's actually gonna go up about 38%, which would be $250,000.
So,
We added 2 classified positions in our unit and the rest were contracted positions because we couldn't fill them
all right,
since.
so 19 positions. So in this budget cycle that we're planning for next year, if I'm right, we are not gonna be adding staff. I mean, your plan, even before we had to do these cuts, was not to add staff until the fall. Is that
That is correct.
that's your plan going forward for us as a
That's
board
correct.
to?
When you see the whites of their eyes, and
When we
that's,
see the students here, then we will begin to our hiring, okay. And then also last year, I know that your system is a little bit different than what we have in the past, where enrollment is projected a little bit differently than we have. I know that last year we were recommended to increase 100 students, and with harsh negotiation, we got it down to about 25 or 30, which was not recommended from the previous staff, what they had here. Otherwise, we would have been at 100 and we would have been in a whole hell of a lot of different problem right now. So, okay, I just want to make sure that going forward that we are making all the right moves to add any type of staff, making sure that when we are looking at enrollment, the hiring would then happen once we see them.
so we used a 10-year enrollment projection, based off the last 10 years, year-over-year growth, and used that average out. And then we staffed to 98% of that, and when we look at some of the cuts, programs have to pay for themselves. Programs like transportation and programs like food service, those are specifically funded on, how many meals we serve and how many miles we drive. And so we have to watch and we have to be careful. We have to make sure we stay within the boundaries because at this point in time, the programs have to be self-sustaining.
And Dr. Granger, you will be reviewing the positions.
Yes, sir.
I have another question, I'll follow up with you then.
No problem.
Thank you, Mitch.
Isaac, questions?
I do have a question. This would be aimed at you and Dr. Chris. The 4x4 high school schedule that carried over into the middle school staffing and their prep period time, are we gonna revisit that?
We're revisiting the middle school schedule. The high school schedule was a 2-year agreement.
Okay, thank you.
No, we're done separately. They weren't, the middle school actually started before the high school
Yeah.
did, so it wasn't carried over into the middle school. All right, I've asked all my questions before, so
Thank you, Mitch.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm quickly gonna go over our last study session we had. We talked about advocacy and how to properly do legislative advocacy. So we started a plan that we'll go through quickly, and then our recommendation, Chris and Dr. Grangers and I, would be to do more of it at our next study session. But in order to advocate for our district at the state level, these are kind of the steps that we need to take. We need to come up with, can you hit it, sorry? Identify what our top 3 priorities are, and I'm not saying we need to do this right now, but it's to think about it, and then when we have our study session, we can put a lot more detail in here. Special ed, MSOC, those can be broken down like into insurance and other costs, transportation, other funding, so we wanna make sure that we come up with our top 3 priorities. And as you'll see later on, that's because we wanna have like a similar message that comes from our district and from our community members as well. Next. Why is community engagement important for legislative advocacy? Legislative advocacy is most effective when we have a common goal and a shared message. And by working together with our community, we can use our common voice for our communications, whether it's emails, phone calls, conversations. If everybody goes and says to their legislators, I want this, this, and this, and somebody else comes and says, well, the district needs this, that, and that. If we have some common ground and can come together, we're gonna get through to them a lot easier than if we all come with different approaches. Next. Engaging with our community, effective advocacy begins with a deep understanding of our community's needs and priorities. That's from WASDA. Some of the options for engaging with the community are town halls, public forums where we can engage and actually talk. They're not business meetings like this where it's just our meeting, but it would be opportunities to meet with people. Surveys and questionnaires, social media, focus groups, and we can use the groups that we already have, like the Mental Health Advisory Committee, the CFAC, Parent Advisory, the Special Ed Parent Group, getting more information from our families about what's important to them. And then we can collaborate with our PTOs and PTAs and other groups to get more input from those dedicated volunteers. Next, strategies for organizing and attending local events, school visits, so board members and others getting into the schools and be clear about your purpose there. So if you're going in to find out what, say we go to Goldbar and we want to talk to Heather, you know, what's important to you that you want us to advocate for at the state level and also federal. Participate in community events and fairs, getting out there, say at Shindig or Gold Dust Days and talking to people and getting feedback from our community. Informal sessions and workshops, partnerships with local organizations, and maintaining an open door policy for board members to be able to really, you know, want to hear from everyone in the community. Next, this is just a list of our current representatives. All of the representatives, not senators, are up for election this year. And Carolyn is retiring, so she will not be there next year. Next. So now what? And then you can next again. So suggestions for next steps are identify the candidates. We need to create a list of candidates that are gonna actually run and get contact information. A common message, templates for emails and speeches, and share those templates with our community partners, because there are parents already that have talked to Dr. Granger in the Supper with the Super, I believe, about how to effectively advocate. So we want to partner with these people. Initiate contact with the candidates newly running for office, introduce ourselves, correspondence with all candidates outline our priorities, the priorities that we decide on as a group. We'd like to plan a community educational forum, invite all of the people that are running, local, state, federal if we can, to come and meet us at the high school and let's have a forum and find out where they stand on education. And then continued work on this advocacy plan. This is just kind of the start of it to get us going. And I do have templates for emails that we can use that we'll get those finished up and then we can share those with our families. Questions? No?
No questions.
Questions? Marion? All right. That is that. So now we have superintendent's report.
Thank you. Just a few updates in this section. One is around the school calendar. We have bargaining dates this week with both of our labor partners. Transportation is on deck for next week, so we expect some meaningful discussion around the school calendar parameters to be discussed so we can communicate that out to the community in the near future.
Before you move on, a question on the school calendar. It might not be clear that it's not the district that comes up with the calendar. It's a work between groups, correct?
Yes, both of our labor agreements with classified and certificated staff have language around calendar development and timelines that calendars get brought to the district, they get discussed, and we are discussing those. The district has received a boundary change request from a small group of families that live on the Monroe-Sultan School District boundary border. They've submitted a citizens petition to the Educational Service District in Anacortes, so we have 90 days now to respond and decide what to do with that. So I'll be meeting with the Monroe superintendent this week, and then be discussing he'll have to talk with his board, we'll have to talk with ours about what happens with that. So wanted to let you know that. I'll have more, it just came in at the end of last week. expect on our next study session, which is the 11th of May, I believe, we will have, you met Trevor Carlson from Piper Sandler came last time and had some generic figures around what a bond could potentially cost. We have initial figures in from the architect on the projects, so we'll be meeting with CFAC before May 11th, but he will be here to present real numbers around a bond proposal dollar amount that would lead to a resolution in the business meeting in May on the timeline and dollar amount for a bond proposal for our district. So wanted that to be on your radar. Also attended the legislative SID town hall on Saturday with the 39th, 12th. And one of them, Mr. Burnett, also attended the chamber auction on Saturday. And so I've followed up with all of them. We talked a little bit about, you know, what the things we're working on and encouraged them that Gigi and I would both connect with them, try to get them out and connect with the community. Mr. Huddy was at the Last Supper with the superintendent. There was some movement around really parents becoming more engaged and active. And so the parent advisory meeting, which is on April 30th next week, is gonna focus on where are the shortfalls in funding and how can parents be involved in addressing that. The last thing I have is May 6th. It's not a normal meeting for us, but remember that's the Sultan Citizens Academy graduation joint meeting with the Sultan School District, the Fire Commission, and the City Council at 6 p.m. in the fire station. So we'll be putting out the special meeting notice for that and ask you to attend. That's all I have for this section.
Okay, consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda?
Maybe before we move to consent agenda, as far as the positions, Chris, that
Yes.
you mentioned, I know that we are in current negotiations with the unions,
Yes.
okay? I just have a question. Do the union keep notes during those negotiations?
I do believe so.
And those are available for all union members to review?
I can't speak for unions and how they share information from their side of the table.
Okay, so I would highly encourage all of you to make sure you're working with your unions and your union reps to review the notes during negotiations. I know you're filling the room and I know there's a lot of people online. I would highly encourage you to review notes and see what's being discussed during the negotiations. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
That's Isaac
All right,
first.
get your note.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Action items, we have the 1731 first read.
1731 is the policy that got tabled last month. I answered a few questions from Gigi and Marianne both. So we was requested to bring it back this meeting. I think all questions have been answered, so just asking for board approval on 1731.
Does anyone have any questions? Michael?
These are changes that came down. We're basically getting back into compliance with this one.
Yeah, consistent with how we're reimbursing employees.
Yeah, no question.
Mike?
No questions.
Isaac?
No.
Marianne? Can I get a motion to approve first read of policy 1731?
I'll motion to approve policy 1731.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 2255 first read.
So 2255 has to deal with alternative learning experiences. You heard from Ms. Anderson a little bit on the work that they're doing. We talked last time when we adopted literacy curriculum that we were gonna have to update this policy so that she could start to adopt and develop curriculum aligned with the curriculum that we use for the parent partnership program. And so this is the updates that are recommended to that policy to allow that to proceed.
Do you have any questions on 2255? Michael?
No.
Mike?
No questions.
Isaac? Marianne?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve first read of policy 2255?
A motion to approve the first read of 2255.
Second?
Second.
with enthusiasm.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of resolution 25-07.
And 2507 and 2508 are on the same action item.
Okay,
They're the resolutions to approve the budget extension presented by Mr. Thompson earlier.
and then 2509 is separate.
Yes, ma'am.
So do we have a motion to approve resolutions 2507 and 2508?
Motion to approve resolution number 2507 and 2508.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so motion carries. Approval of resolution 2509.
Okay, so this is the one about the reducing of staff, so I've got quite a few points to make here, so bear with me while I go through this. First, I wanna thank the campus administrators, department directors that have been working on developing a plan to bring to the board. The plan that we thought we had a week ago was not what you're seeing tonight. When financial constraints became more restrictive and we haven't settled any of our bargains, we had to start to plan for what that was gonna look like to provide the board the maximum amount of flexibility to be responsive to financial demands and bargaining. And that led to a reconvening of the leadership team and a discussion of added positions to the plan. That were not something the district was unilaterally seeking. So this plan reflects a change in that we can always bring positions back, but because of contractual and state guidelines around the dates of notification for employees, this is the board's business meeting that precedes that deadline. So we have to bring you a plan to approve, and then we can continue to be responsive. As mentioned in Mitch's report, we continue to expend more than we're bringing in based on the budget that was left. The state has made a change in special ed funding and that they're dictating how we record expenditures to meet what the legislators believe is their efforts to fully fund special education. The cost of that is that overages and expenditures that are coded to state funds are coming from local codes where they previously would have come out of levy. So there's a little bit of, yes, if you code it all this way, it's funded all that way, but it still has an impact on the local side of the budget. In the MSOC world, fuel costs, there has not been an adjustment by the state yet to account for increases in fuel. We have insurance increases, you heard a little bit earlier, over the next 2 years could be in the 30 to 40% range. That's a significant increase of expenditure. If you remember, we discussed this as far back as October when we told you we were gonna notify our insurance carrier that has a 2-year opt-out clause, that we wanted to seek other opportunities to try to preserve as many local resources as possible. Additionally, utilities, just like in people's homes, utility prices increase, those hit the district, those are not known in July when the budget's developed. This plan is targeted at getting the district more closely aligned to the prototypical school model while still acknowledging that the prototypical school model is insufficient and the state fails to meet its legislative and constitutional responsibility to fully fund public education. In our specific district, I'm just gonna go through some, I've got a lot of positions here and I'm gonna tell you what's funded versus what we have. So we are funded for 5.5 building administrators, we have 7. This is before the reduction plan. We are funded for 1.83 central office administrators, we have 3. We're funded for 103 teachers, basic ed, we have 107. This does not account for special ed. And now we get into the classified world where we see the biggest gaps in state funding relative to the number of positions that it needs to run a district. We are currently funded for 3.8 paraeducators in general education. 3.8. That is less than 1 para per school building in our district. We currently employ 24 paraeducators outside of the 41 special education paras that we fund out of special ed. We are currently funded for 9.4 office staff positions in buildings. We currently have 12. We are funded for 7.6 custodians and we have 10. We're funded for 3.1 Facilities, maintenance, grounds, anything related to fixing things, we employ 6. We are funded for 1.1 technology positions, and we fund 6. So that is a highlight, I think, of the core problem that we're all aware of, and that is that the prototypical model does not represent the needs of students in our district or any other district in this state. That leads us to have to make hard local decisions until there's movement on the funding model. We cannot continue to expend more than we bring in. We built a budget up to a week ago based on modest pay raises for every group. We accounted for that in the initial reduction. We accounted for all of the additional levy dollars that were gonna come in the next calendar year. Thank you to the community for supporting the levy. The reality is, if the state was fully funding education, that 10.6% or nearly $4 million would be able to go to things that the local community would want to prioritize. But it's currently funding the gap in basic education funding. Mentioned earlier that I want to be clear, the 17 teaching positions that were hired doesn't mean that some of the teachers that they filled in for had left. So it wasn't that everybody that was here is still here and there's 17 more. My point was to say that without being here, it's hard to understand how we added all of them in an enrollment projection that didn't trigger that type of number based on our CBA language. We also know that we have filed for revenues such as safety net that will not come in till the summer. We can't count on that. There's some concern that the way the state is fully funding special ed is by reducing the safety net dollars. And safety net dollars are for, and if you pay the first $37,000 of a high needs student, then you can submit for, reimbursement from the state. When we have students of high behavioral needs that are going out of district to be served, those expenditures have to be filed, but we don't get that revenue. So with our labor agreements open, with contractual deadlines and state deadlines, we cannot in good confidence put a plan in front of the board that doesn't account for those unknown things, because we can't be in a position in the fall where we are overstaffed or under-resourced. And that's why you see the plan in front of you.
Let's clarify just a couple things. So the
Yes.
plan that's in front of us, is this set in stone?
No, it is what we're asking you to approve now, and we can be responsive differently based on how more information comes into the district.
So once bargaining continues,
Bargaining, safety net funding, legislative guidance around TK, there's still big pieces hanging out there that we need to resolve.
so we wanna be clear that this is not set in stone and this is an ongoing process.
Yes,
And the original one that you brought us was much lower than this.
yes. It would have had all classified employees remaining employed in the district and a total of 9 employees district-wide of the 306 employees not having an open position to fill.
And that's due to open and bargaining that's still open right now that we're going through.
That's one of the factors.
So we were at 9 positions.
No, 9 people that would
9.
not have a position. I would say we were in the 20 to 23 position range. I think it's important from my chair, even when we don't fill something with attrition, to communicate that to the community, because the gap in funding from the state is why we can't continue to fill positions that are vacated, even though we know we need, if we didn't need these positions to serve students, we wouldn't have them. But we're not funded for all the positions we have, so until that needle moves, we have to make different decisions. We want to make sure that the district's able to educate this community for hundreds of years, not just the here and now.
And you mentioned sending students out of state, the high need students. Approximately what does that cost, Dr. Douglas?
Approximately $480,000 per student.
And those are for students that we cannot service and that we have
Those
to.
are the ones that are out of state. The ones in state roughly run us about $220,000, a little bit more for in-state.
Michael, comments?
I mean, you hate to see a worst case scenario, but I guess better to plan for the worst.
I asked my questions.
Isaac?
No, I mean, it just sucks. I have nothing else to say.
Marianne?
My questions have been answered.
All right, so with the full understanding that this is not necessarily set in stone, that once we continue bargaining and other things come to light, then hopefully we can reduce this plan greatly. So do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2509?
Motion to approve 2509.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Approval of fines and fees.
You'll see the fines and fees that we've had all the buildings review their fine and fee structures. There's a couple of bolded ones for the high school that are new, due to new courses that they've asked for. The ones in food service you see in yellow are not finalized yet because we need the National School Lunch Program reimbursement rate and other factors to come to us, so we'll bring those back to you. But in an effort to communicate with parents well in advance, we wanted to bring this to you for approval.
Anyone have questions on the fines and fees? Michael? Mike?
I know in previous years, are any of these things that we can donate from a board standpoint? Is there anything that we can, for as far as like lunch fees, fines, anything around? Is there anything?
Let me do some information gathering with Mitch and the team and we'll bring something back to you, if that's okay.
That's perfectly fine. I don't want fines to be imposed on families if they cannot afford food. So if anything, I'll donate at least my salary, whatever.
We just need to put
$50
that in the
I get per
budget,
meeting.
that
That's fine.
or $50
But
for.
I'd rather
Yeah.
donate that back to those fines.
And we don't deny meals to any student, even if they don't have money in
But
there.
even if there's something that children are being fined, I'd much rather.
We'd much rather take care of it
Yeah.
than have it go to the family. Isaac, questions? Marianne?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve fines and fees?
I make a motion to approve fees and fines updated.
Fines and fees, and do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I do have one final comment for the one before, the 2509. I just want to clarify also, that was created not by you and, say, Mitch alone,
Oh, no.
who created the listing.
That's the combination of every campus principal, department head, district office, instructional
So then
leadership
they had say in there.
in their building
Okay.
or department. Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, we have a 10-minute executive session to go over performance of a public employee. Let's say we start at 7:20, because there's a lot of people here, and we'll go to 7:30. So do I have a motion to
I
adjourn to
make a
go into
motion.
executive section?
I make a motion to adjourn to executive session until 7:30.
Yes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I heard Mike first.